All right, hello and welcome. Today, we're diving deep into the front of your thigh, and trust me, it's way more interesting than it sounds. We're going to meet the incredible powerhouse muscles that are responsible for, well, everything from kicking a ball to sprinting for the bus. Let's get right into it.
So, have you ever really thought about it? What is actually going on under your skin that gives you the power to just explode into motion? Like to climb a huge flight of stairs or kick a ball with everything you've got? Well, that crazy amount of force comes from a perfectly coordinated team of muscles we're about to meet.
Okay, our first stop is a muscle that, honestly, a lot of people have never even heard of. But it is absolutely fundamental to how we move. We're about to uncover the hidden engine that really kicks off the whole motion of lifting your leg.
Say hello to the iliopsoas. And here's what's so wild about this muscle. It's the only muscle in your entire body that directly connects your spine to your leg. Just think about that for a second. It's literally a bridge connecting your upper body to your lower body. Pretty cool, right? Now, the iliopsoas isn't just one muscle. It's actually two muscles that join forces. You've got the psoas major, which starts way up on your lower spine, your lumbar vertebrae. Then it's joined by the iliacus, which lines the inside of your hip bone. They start in different spots, but then they merge into one super powerful tendon that attaches right to your thigh bone, the femur. So, what does this amazing spine to leg connection actually do? Well, its main job is something called hip flexion. That's just the fancy term for lifting your knee up towards your chest. It's super powerful. It also helps you bend your torso forward. And this is key, it stabilizes your entire trunk when you're sitting. So, yeah, for most of us, it's working right now. Okay, moving on to the real superstars of the thigh. The muscles you can actually see and feel. We are talking about the quadriceps femoris, that massive four-headed powerhouse that gives the front of your thigh its shape and all that explosive power. So, quad means four, right? And that's because this is a team of four distinct muscles all working together as one. You've got the rectus femoris running right down the center. Then there's the vastus medialis on the inside of your thigh and the vastus lateralis on the outside. And then hiding deep underneath all of them is the vastus intermedius. And what's so fascinating here is that even though these four muscles start in different places, some on the hip, some all over the thigh bone, they all have a common goal. They all merge into one incredibly strong tendon that wraps around your kneecap, the patella, and then attaches to your shin bone. That single unified insertion point is the secret to their massive power. And what does all that power do? Simple. It creates powerful extension of the knee joint. Every single time you straighten your leg with force, think about standing up from a low squat, jumping, or kicking. Yep, that's all your quads working together. But there's always one special player on the team, isn't there? The rectus femoris is the only one of the four quads that actually crosses the hip joint. And because it does, it gets a second job. Not only does it help its teammates extend the knee, but it also helps our old friend the iliopsoas flex the hip. It's a real two-for-one deal. All right, so beyond the big, heavy lifters, the thigh also has this amazing supporting cast of specialist muscles. Think of these as the fine-tuners. They handle stability and some really unique movements that the bigger muscles just aren't built for. First up, we've got the longest muscle in the entire human body, the sartorius. It's this long, thin, ribbon-like muscle that snakes its way across the thigh. Its nickname is the tailor's muscle because it does everything you need to do to sit cross-legged, like an old-timey tailor. It lifts the thigh, moves it out to the side, rotates it outward, and it bends the knee. It's a multitasker. Next, there's the tensor fascia lata, or TFL for short. It's a small muscle up on the side of your hip, but it has a really big job. It pulls on that long, tough band of tissue you've probably heard of called the iliotibial tract, or IT band. By tensing up that band, it helps keep your hip stable and even gives the quads a little boost when extending the knee. And last but not least, we have one of the body's great unsung heroes, the articularis genu. This tiny little muscle sits way down deep, and its only job is to do something really important. When you straighten your leg, it pulls the inner lining of your knee joint up and out of the way so it doesn't get pinched or crushed. It's a tiny little bodyguard for your knee. Okay, we have officially met all the major players. So now, let's circle all the way back to our original question and see how this entire team works together to do something as complex and powerful as kicking a ball. It all happens in a blink. First step, lift. The iliopsoas and the rectus femoris fire hard, powerfully lifting your thigh up and back. Second step, extend. The rest of the quadriceps team fires all at once, straightening your leg with explosive force. And finally, step 3, stabilize. The whole time, the TFL and sartorius are working to keep your hips steady and aim the leg for a perfect impact. You know, it really is a perfect symphony of muscle coordination. It's this beautiful dance where all these different muscles, with all their different jobs, contribute to one fluid, powerful motion. And maybe the most amazing part? This whole complex sequence happens in a split second without you ever having to think about it. Whether you're walking, running, or just getting up from your chair, your thigh muscles are performing this little miracle of coordination thousands and thousands of times every single day. So next time you move, just take a second to appreciate that incredible powerhouse you've got built right in. So the only question left is, what are you going to do with all that power? Today, we're diving into two of the most powerful, yet, let's be honest, often overlooked muscle groups in your entire body. They are the true unsung heroes that power you through your day. We're talking about the adductors and the glutes. Let's get right into it. Seriously, think about it for a second. What's actually stopping you from just toppling over when you stand on one leg? Or how do you get that push to get out of a chair or run up a flight of stairs? Well, the answer is this incredibly complex and coordinated dance that's happening deep within your hips and thighs. And that's exactly what we're going to break down. All right, first up, let's take a trip to the medial compartment of the thigh. Yep, that's your inner thigh. This area is home base for a group of muscles we call the adductors, and their name gives us a massive clue about what they do. So, at its core, adduction is a really simple movement. It's just bringing your leg back towards the center of your body. You ever squeeze your knees together? That's your adductors working right there. And this action is absolutely crucial for stability, for power, and for just about any controlled movement you make. But here's the thing, it's not just one muscle doing all that work. Nope, it's a whole team of 5, and each one has a very specific job to do. So let's meet the starting lineup. This team has some serious depth. You've got the pectineus, we'll call it the starter, because it helps kick off both bringing the thigh in and flexing it. Then you have the adductor longus and brevis. They're key players for rotation. And then there's the gracilis, a true multitasker, that not only adducts the thigh but also helps you bend your knee. And finally, we get to the powerhouse of the group, the adductor magnus. Now, this last one, the adductor magnus, is really something special. What makes it so fascinating is that this muscle is so big and complex, it's practically 2 muscles that have been fused into one. And the proof of that is actually in how it's wired up. You can see this split personality pretty clearly in how it works. The front part, the pubic part, it acts like a true adductor. It pulls the thigh inward, and it gets its signals from the obturator nerve, which handles the inner thigh. But the back portion, well, it acts more like a hamstring. It helps extend the hip, and it gets its instructions from the sciatic nerve, the main nerve for the back of the leg. It's a true hybrid powerhouse. Okay, so that's the inner thigh. Now let's swing around to the back of the hip, to what is basically your body's engine room, the gluteal region. These muscles are the primary drivers for some of our most powerful movements. Every single time you stand up, climb stairs, or break into a run, you're firing up your glutes. They're the main extensors of the hip. That means they drive your leg backward. But their other job is just as important. They keep your pelvis stable and level while you're moving. And just like the adductors, the glutes are a team. And while, one player tends to get most of the attention, trust me, the supporting cast is what keeps the whole operation running without a hitch. So first, you've got the superstar, the gluteus maximus. And it really is a superstar. It's literally the largest muscle in your entire body. And it's the main engine for hip extension. But working just underneath it, you've got the gluteus medius and minimus. Their job is to abduct the hip, so the total opposite of adduction, moving the leg away from your body. And crucially, to keep your pelvis from dropping to one side when you're standing on one leg. This brings up a really important question, right? If the medius and minimus are the ones responsible for keeping you level, what on earth happens when they can't do their job? While the source material paints a pretty stark picture, if these muscles are paralyzed, which can happen from an injury to their nerve, it leads to what's called a lurching gait. This means when you lift one foot to take a step, the pelvis on that same side just drops dramatically. To stop from falling over, the person has to literally lurch their entire upper body to the opposite side. It's a powerful, powerful reminder of just how critical these stabilizers really are. And we can't forget the deep supporting cast. You can think of these 6 smaller muscles as the fine-tuning crew. They're tucked in deep beneath the gluteus maximus, and their main job is lateral rotation, turning your thigh outwards. But they also play this huge role in stabilizing the hip joint from moment to moment.
Okay, so we've met the adductor team on the inside and a gluteal team on the outside. But here's the thing. Muscles never ever act in isolation. The real magic happens when they start working together. Let's see how they cooperate in a single movement you probably do every day.
Let's take a simple squat. As you start to lower down, your adductors are firing like crazy to keep your thighs tracking properly, to stop your knees from collapsing inward. Then at the very bottom of the squat, those deep lateral rotators, that fine-tuning crew, are working overtime to keep the hip joint secure and stable. And then to power back up, that's all gluteus maximus, your main engine, driving that hip extension to bring you back to a standing position. It's a perfect symphony of muscular action. And that right there is the key takeaway. From something as simple as walking to a powerful motion like climbing, your adductors and your glutes are in this constant coordinated dance. One group provides the inward stability, the other provides the power and the outward stability, and together they create fluid, strong, and balanced movement. And that really just leaves us with one final thought. Understanding all this anatomy isn't just for exams, it's incredibly practical. These muscles together form the true engine of your lower body. Knowing how they work is the first step. The real question is, are you giving them the attention they actually deserve?
All right, today we are taking a deep dive into the incredible machine that is your lower leg. We're going to get to know the machinery that powers every single step you take.
I mean, think about it. Walking, running, jumping, we do all of it without giving it a second thought, right? But have you ever actually stopped to wonder what's going on under the skin? It's this incredible, complex system of muscles, all working together in perfect harmony, like a biological symphony of pure power, precision, and stability.
So, in this explainer, we're going to go on a little anatomical tour. We're going to peel back the layers and introduce you to the 3 distinct teams of muscles that make all that movement possible. You've got the powerhouse engines, the precision lifters, and the essential stabilizers. Let's get started with the first team.
Okay, first up, we're heading to the back of your thigh. This is the home of the hamstrings. Now, you should think of these muscles as the powerful engines that both propel you forward and act as your brakes.
So leading the charge is the biceps femoris. Now, that name biceps literally means 2 heads. And you know what? Just like that famous muscle in your arm, this one has 2 different starting points that join forces for one really powerful purpose.
Now this is where it gets really cool. Look at how those 2 heads have slightly different jobs. The long head, well, it starts way up on your sitting bone, the ischial tuberosity, which allows it to help extend your hip. But the short head starts right on the femur itself. They come together to pull on your fibula, which bends your knee and also rotates it outward. And get this, different parts of the massive sciatic nerve control each head. It's just a beautiful example of specialized wiring.
Okay, now let's shift a bit to the inside of the thigh to meet the next member of this powerhouse team, the semitendinosus. You'll notice it starts in the exact same place as the long head of the biceps femoris, but as we're about to see, its job is totally different.
So as you can see, its actions look pretty familiar, right? It flexes the knee and extends the hip, just like the biceps femoris. But here's the crucial difference. Because it attaches on the medial side of your tibia, or the inside, it rotates your lower leg inward. This provides an absolutely critical counterbalance to that outward rotation from the biceps femoris.
And right next to the semitendinosus, basically working as its partner in crime, is the third and final member of our hamstring team, the semimembranosus.
This muscle is like the trusty sidekick to the semitendinosus. It starts nearby on that same sitting bone and attaches to the back of the tibia, and it works in perfect concert to provide that powerful inward rotation and knee flexion. I mean, together, these 2 are a serious team for controlling the inside of the knee.
So what's the big takeaway here? It's that these 3 muscles are not just working on their own. No way! They are a highly coordinated team. They give you the raw power to pull your thigh backward, propelling you forward. And they're the main muscles you use to bend your knee. They are, quite literally, the engines of your leg.
All right, let's move around to the front of the leg. If the hamstrings are the engines pushing you forward, then the muscles of the anterior compartment are the precision lifters. They're responsible for the really delicate job of picking your foot up off the ground. Now, the main job for this whole group is something called dorsiflexion. It's a fancy word, but it's simple. It's just the act of pulling your foot and your toes up toward your shin. Without this movement, you would trip over your own feet with every single step. It's that critical. The star of this particular show is the tibialis anterior. It runs right down the front of your shin bone. I want you to picture its tendon as a rope running through a pulley system at your ankle. Every single time you take a step, it contracts, hoisting the inside of your foot up and in, letting you swing your leg through without stubbing your toe.
But hey, lifting the foot isn't just about the ankle, is it? Your toes have to come along for the ride, and that's where our next two specialists come into play.
So you've got the extensor digitorum longus, which sends out 4 separate little tendons to lift your 4 smaller toes. Then you have the extensor hallucis longus, which is dedicated entirely to extending your big toe, or your hallux. They work in perfect synergy with the tibialis anterior to lift the whole front of your foot up as one single unit.
And rounding out our team of lifters is this small muscle that, interestingly, not everyone even has. But for those who do, it adds a final, really subtle movement to the mix.
This little guy is the peroneus tertius, and while it definitely helps with lifting the foot up, its unique contribution is pulling the outside of the foot up and out. It just adds a little bit of flair, a little eversion, to the lifting action of this whole anterior group.
Okay, so we've covered the power engines in the back and the precision lifters in the front. Now we're going to move to the outside of the leg to meet the real unsung heroes of your lower limb, the stabilizers.
So the main job of this lateral team is a movement called eversion. This is when you turn the sole of your foot outwards. Now, why does that matter so much? Well, because it's the main action that stops your ankle from rolling inwards when you're walking on uneven ground. It's what keeps you balanced and upright.
And this just perfectly illustrates how the peroneal team gets it done. You've got the peroneus longus and brevis running down the outside of your fibula. The brevis attaches to the outside of your foot. Pretty straightforward. But the longus tendon does this amazing trick. It wraps all the way under your foot to attach on the inside. So together they act like a pair of stirrups, pulling the outside edge of your foot down and out, supporting your arches and preventing those awful, painful ankle rolls.
So we've met all 3 teams individually. Now for the really cool part. Let's see how they all work together to create that smooth, efficient movement we take for granted.
You see, the real magic is in this constant give and take between these muscle groups. As that anterior group is lifting your foot up, the lateral group is constantly firing to keep your foot level and stable, stopping it from turning in too much. It's this elegant, beautiful balance that lets us walk and run on pretty much any kind of terrain without even thinking about it.
So let's wrap up our tour. What have we learned? We have the hamstring engines in the back providing the raw power. We have the anterior lifters in the front, making sure your foot clears the ground with precision. And we have the lateral stabilizers on the side, keeping you balanced and protecting your ankles. 3 specialized teams, all working in constant, silent coordination.
So the next time you take a simple step, just for a second, remember that intricate dance of engines, lifters, and stabilizers making it all happen. It is a masterpiece of biological engineering, and it's all yours. Understanding this machine, well, that's the first step to truly mastering it.
Let's talk about the muscles that do the real heavy lifting, day in and day out. And now I'm not talking about your biceps. I'm talking about the unsung heroes of your lower leg, the absolute powerhouse that makes walking, running, and even just standing around possible. So come on, let's pop the hood and take a good look inside this incredible engine room.
Seriously, think about it for a sec. Every time you jump up, sprint across the street, or even just go on your tiptoes to grab something off the top shelf, what's actually doing all that work? Well, it's this amazing team of muscles in the back of your leg, all firing in perfect sequence to launch you up and forward.
So here's our game plan. We're going to start by introducing the leg's engine room. Then we'll meet the big, powerful muscles you can actually see. After that, we'll peel back the layers to find the hidden specialists. We'll even take a quick detour to the top of the foot before we put it all together and see how this whole team works in perfect harmony.
All right, first things first, let's get our bearings. The area we're focusing on is called the posterior compartment of the leg. You and I, we just call it the calf. This spot right here is the absolute powerhouse responsible for something called plantar flexion. In plain English, that's the crucial push-off force that you use in pretty much every single movement.
Now, it's not just one big muscle back there. It's actually really organized, kind of like it's split into two teams. You've got the superficial group, those are the big guys that give your calf its shape. And then, hiding underneath them, you've got the deep group, a crew of specialized, precision muscles. Let's start with the team you can actually see.
So this superficial group, these are the prime movers for pushing off the ground. When you look at someone's calf, these are the muscles you're looking at. They are built for pure power, and they are absolutely essential for getting you from point A to point B.
And here's the team roster. You've got two main players, the gastrocnemius and the soleus. Both are all about that powerful push. Then there's the plantaris. Think of it as a much smaller assistant. It's really the first two that are doing all the heavy lifting.
First up, we've got the gastrocnemius. What's so cool about this one is its structure. See, it has two heads that start way up on your femur, your thigh bone. That means it crosses two joints, the knee and the ankle. So it doesn't just point your foot down with a ton of force, it also helps you bend your knee. Both of these heads merge into that world-famous Achilles tendon, which connects right down to your heel bone. You know, a really easy way to remember the gastrocnemius is to just think of it as the sprinter muscle. It's designed for those quick, explosive, powerful movements like jumping or a flat-out sprint.
Okay, now let's look right underneath the gastrocnemius at its partner, the soleus. Now, unlike the gastrocnemius, the soleus starts below the knee, on the tibia and fibula. It then joins up with that same Achilles tendon. Because it doesn't cross the knee, its main job is all about the ankle. And man, is it important for just standing still. It acts as a muscle pump. When you're standing, the soleus gently squeezes blood from the deep veins in your leg back up towards your heart, basically fighting gravity for you. Pretty cool, huh?
So if the gastrocnemius is our sprinter, the soleus is definitely the marathon runner. It is built for endurance. It works tirelessly just to keep you upright, and it provides all that sustained power you need for walking or long-distance running.
And finally, we have the plantaris. Honestly, this one's kind of the forgotten teammate. It's a tiny little muscle with a super long, thin tendon. Its contribution to movement is, well, it's minimal. In fact, some people don't even have one. It's so non-essential that surgeons sometimes borrow its tendon to use as a spare part for reconstruction somewhere else in the body.
Okay, so we've met the big power flares on the surface. Now let's do a little virtual dissection, shall we? We're going to peel back that gastrocnemius and soleus to see the real specialists working underneath.
All right, welcome to the deep posterior compartment. If the superficial guys provide the raw power, this deep crew, well, they provide the fine-tuning, the stability, and all the specialized movements that are just as critical for a healthy step.
And just look at this roster. Each of these muscles has a very, very specific job. We've got a knee unlocker, a big toe flexor, a flexor for the other four toes, and a super important muscle for arch support. This is a true team of specialists.
Let's break that down real quick. The popliteus, it does this tiny but absolutely vital little rotation that basically unlocks your knee from a straight position so you can bend it. The flexor hallucis longus gives you that powerful push-off from your big toe. The digitorum longus curls your other four toes to grip the ground. And the tibialis posterior is an absolute hero for your foot stability. It turns your sole inward and holds up your main arch to keep it from collapsing. It's a key defender against flat feet. And get this, all of these deep muscles, and most of the superficial ones we just met, are all controlled by one nerve, the tibial nerve. It's like the master conductor for this entire orchestra.
Okay, so every single muscle we've looked at so far helps point the foot down and curl the toes. But what about the opposite motion? What about lifting them up? For that, we need to take a quick trip around through the top of the foot, also known as the dorsum.
And here it is, sitting all by its lonesome on the top of your foot, the extensor digitorum brevis. Its one and only job is to do the exact opposite of those deep flexor muscles we just met. It lifts your toes up. That's it. That's the whole job. So you've got this massive posterior compartment generating all this force to point the foot and curl the toes down, right? And then you have this one small but essential muscle on top, the extensor digitorum brevis, providing the opposing force to lift the toes up. It's a classic agonist-antagonist relationship, a perfect balance of power.
Okay, we've met all the individual players. Now for the really cool part. How do they all work together so perfectly every single time you take a step? It's like watching a beautifully choreographed dance.
So check out this sequence. Before you even think about pushing off, the tibialis posterior fires up to make your foot a solid, stable lever.
Then, bam, the superficial giants, your gastrocnemius and soleus, contract with massive force to lift your heel off the ground. And for the grand finale, the long toe flexors dig in and grip the ground, giving you that final propulsive push. And this all happens in a fraction of a second.
And that right there is really the main takeaway. It's not about just one muscle doing all the work. It's about this perfect, elegant synergy. You need the powerhouses for the raw force, but without those specialist muscles providing control and stability, all that force would be completely useless.
So, as we wrap up, I'll just leave you with this thought. The next time you're out for a walk or a run, or you're just standing in line at the grocery store, maybe pay a little attention to your feet and calves. Can you feel that complex, powerful, incredible team working tirelessly, totally behind the scenes, to power your every single move?